This is LA Business Spotlight.
Greed is good.
Always be closing.
It's strictly business.
Welcome to LA Business Spotlight. I'm Joel Metzger. Usually we're in the studios of Icebox Logic, but today we're on location in the swank offices of the Regis Beverly Hills. And my guest today is Kevin Winston. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
Tell us about your company, Digital LA.
Yeah, Digital LA is a networking group, which I started about 5-6 years ago to basically get the tech entertainment startup community in LA together to meet in person on a regular basis with weekly events. There's so much happening in LA right now that's amazing with all the technology and startups and accelerators and new businesses being created. I thought it would be good to get people together to talk about what's happening and share success stories on a weekly basis. So that's what we do.
That's fantastic. I've been following your emails and your blasts and your events for about 2 years.
Oh, great.
And it just seems like it's growing and growing and growing. How is it expanding?
Yeah, when I first started at Digital LA, it was focused on entertainment and tech, which was movies, TV, web series, visual effects, and games. I used to work at both Fox Interactive Media and MySpace and Sony Pictures, so that's kind of where I got started. But then over the past 3 years, as Silicon Beach, the tech scene in LA has really grown. I started to do events with the accelerators and startup showcases featuring pitches by these new startup companies. That just has really increased, and we have this huge interest in companies that are in the LA area that are in tech. You know, companies like Snapchat, there's Whisper, there's Tiger Tech.
This is all Silicon Beach.
All Silicon Beach, startup companies.
Tell us how you started Silicon Beach.
So about 3 years ago, I noticed, more and more startups were popping up. The co-working spaces like Cross Campus and WeWork were opening up as well, so that people can actually have space to do co-work and do events. So I said, well, why don't we do something to get these growing communities together? So I started something called Silicon Beach Fest 3 years ago to basically highlight what was happening in the scene. And that was just at the very, very beginning as it was all really getting started. As the VCs and accelerators were opening up their doors, the co-working space were opening up the doors. We had this Silicon Beach Fest 3 years ago to get everyone together. And it was great. We had keynote speakers. There was a hackathon. There was a startup showcase. And there were parties every night because a lot of people network at the parties and a lot of deals get done there too. We've had an opening party at the Viceroy. That was really fun. And we did another one last year, which was even bigger. We grew to 250 speakers. We had people from, thousands of people from LA and San Francisco and Chicago and New York. We even had people from London and Germany fly over for it.
Wow.
So that was pretty exciting. And this year we're poised to be even bigger with Silicon Beach Fest coming up in June 18th through 21st in Santa Monica. So a lot of stuff is going on, and people really just love meeting together in person because that's a lot how deals get done. Right. I mean, you can see someone on LinkedIn, but unless you actually meet them in person, you might not feel comfortable doing business with them, hiring them, that kind of stuff.
If someone comes to this event, what do they experience? What do they get? What's the value out of it?
So why do networking events? So the reason I started Digital LA, way back at the beginning, was I realized that with social media like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you're able to digitally become aware of people at a much higher rate than you actually, might feel comfortable talking to them or hanging out with them or referring them. Which only really happens in real life. So digital is a good tool to become aware of people, but to actually feel comfortable, hiring someone or doing business with someone that usually requires, meeting them in person. And so Digital creates events every week in LA. There's 1 to 3 events going on throughout the year so that people can meet around different topics. I have panels related to, mobile ad tech, to content creation, to all sorts of stuff. Right. So different groups of people can meet in person and then shake hands and talk and collaborate and go get drinks afterwards.
It feels like that handshake, that face-to-face is so much more important now than ever before.
Yeah.
Because we're just inundated with posts and Facebook and everything's virtual. And it's such an advantage to shake somebody's hands, look them in the eye, and get a sense of them. You get a vibe. I mean, we're human beings. We're not quite virtual yet. It's really a good thing that you're doing. Okay,
Thanks.
So we're going to go to a break. We're here with Kevin Winston of Digital LA, and this is LA Business Spotlight.
LA Business Spotlight is brought to you by Icebox Logic, makers of fine handcrafted audio and video. Go to iceboxlogic.net to see examples. Your company needs to communicate.
We are back with Kevin Winston of Digital LA, and I want to know, how do you promote and how do you market Digital LA? Because you do a really good job. It's really out there. It's very visible. So what do you do?
Yeah, thanks. From the very beginning, the goal of Digital LA was to network people who are digital. So I decided to use digital platforms to do that, to bring people together in real life, which is a little ironic, but maybe not so much, because digital and real life all intermix in today's world. So I started actually Digital LA on Facebook as a Facebook group. And so people could see at that time when their friends were going to an event, and it just kind of grew from there. So then I created a LinkedIn group, which now has 15,000 people. We use social media like Twitter very actively. We have 20,000 folks on Twitter. We also use Instagram, which we just started over the past several months, and that's been growing as well. We take a lot of photos at our events, and so it's great to post all the photos on Instagram. Yes, we like photos because photos are fun. It shows people having a good time, and you can put photos on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, it's really a lot of social media. But then with all the social media, we actually also use email regularly. I send out the Digital LA newsletter whenever we have an event, since we have like 2 events a week. It comes out twice a week with what's going on. We also have some news about Silicon Beach, some entertainment news, some tech news, all LA focused. You can at a glance find out what's going on in LA. So definitely use the email marketing too, which seems a little bit old school, but for all the social media, if you miss a tweet or you miss a Facebook post, you're going to miss an event. So the newsletter is really a good way to actually find out what is going on that comes into your inbox, and people still check it. So
I think it's a great tool.
Yeah,
because it's a direct line. Because with social media, you post something and it just pushes down on the scroll. Right. It just pushes down, and a lot of people miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I notice you also do a lot of recaps of how the event went with the pictures, and it really like eats your heart out. You didn't get to go to this cool event. A lot of people drinking cocktails, and it's very effective. It's a really effective thing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about monetization, because it seems like everything that you're covering, you're at different events, they're games, they're web apps, they're all these different things. They're all content of some kind.
Yep.
And everybody's trying to figure out in this ever-changing landscape, how do we monetize this? So what are some trends you see? What are some things that people are trying to do to be able to monetize?
Yeah. Some of the quick trends that are happening are the aggregation of multi-channel networks. So basically taking like-minded YouTubers or video content creators, putting them together in channels called multi-channel networks, and then selling ads against these channels. That's what Maker Studios is, which just got acquired by Disney for $500 million. There are several other multi-channel networks like Full Screen, Big Frame, which actually just got acquired, Awesomeness TV, which got acquired by DreamWorks. These startups / content creators that are aggregating content and then selling ads against it.
So they can sell a bigger package of ads.
Right. Yeah. And the reason why is that all these young viewers are spending a lot of time online. They're watching YouTube videos a lot. Right. They're referring to their friends. It's what they can do, when they get home from school. They can do it at school, at recess or whatever. They just have a lot of video views, and so the market realizes that and is rewarding the multi-channel networks, which are doing really well. So that's one area. Another area that LA is really good at in content is actually B2B services. So that's actually been interesting too. Other ways to create content or monetize content. Advertising models still do work, but they require getting a lot of viewers. Right. So what's happening more is sponsorships and integrated content, where a brand will partner with some content creators or an artist to create, some sort of a music video, some sort of video where there's brand integration, or some other program where you invite influencers to an event and do something that's engaging with the content to actually monetize. So there's a bunch of different new models that are coming out to monetize. Advertising still can work, but it requires a lot of work. So these other things like sponsorship or aggregation of multi-channel networks to sell packages against are really increasing. So yeah, it's been interesting to see, and that's why we have all these events all the time, because there's
everything changes.
Everything changes so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and we're all counting on you and your company to keep track of it all.
Yeah, that's what my job is.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. It was really great talking to you. Tell people how they can find you online.
Yeah, sure. So to find out what's going on with Digital LA events, you can sign up for the newsletter at digitalla.net, which also has recaps of the previous events. You can see what else has been happening. You can also follow us on Twitter at Digital LA. We're on Instagram at Digital LA, and on LinkedIn and Facebook. So we're on everything.
Yeah.
So
Name a platform they're not on.
Easy to find us. So yeah.
Kevin Winston, thank you so much for coming on LA Business Spotlight.
Awesome. Thank you.
You've been listening to LA Business Spotlight. If you have a company or service and you'd like to appear on the show, send an email to info@iceboxlogic.net.
This podcast was recorded at the studios of Icebox Logic.